Welcome to Not Starving Artists, the podcast. I'm Brooke, your host, money coach, and financial cheerleader, here to teach you the money management and mindset strategies of high-earning creatives. I graduated from college broke with a BFA in theater, having constant panic attacks about paying rent. And now, I am a working actor, artist, and business owner in New York City, making a full-time income as a self-employed creative and on track to be a multi-millionaire in retirement, while still enjoying plenty of vacations and happy hour margaritas. So get ready to learn how you, as a self-employed hottie with fluctuating income, can have a relationship with money that feels safe, spacious, and sexy. The best part? No budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are on part 2 of the 6-part series, The High Earning Creative, Money Management and Mindset Strategies for Self-Employed Hotties. Now, this week, we're talking about spending. The one spending shift that you need to make if you're a high earning creative, but you still feel broke. If you're someone who's having the thought, I earn too much, I make too much to still be this broke, to not have anything to show for it, to still be living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're the person that's feeling like, I have too much money in my bank account to still be having this much financial anxiety. Like, the math isn't mathing here. This episode's for you. So the strategy I'm giving you today is that when you're a high earning creative, you need to spend like a rich person. The spending shift we're talking about today is spending like a rich person. Now stay with me, all right? Because that does not mean you're just going to go out and spend all your money. There's a couple of things I want to talk about here right at the top of the episode. One of them being how rich people and their spending habits are portrayed in like TV and movies and the media. I'm currently watching through Hacks for the first time. It's been on my list for ages, and I finally got around to it like 2 weeks ago, and I'm already on season 4. I mean, it's incredible. I can't believe I waited this long. But what we see with Deborah Vance and how she spends money inside of Hacks, it's this energy of just like money is getting spent and there isn't a lot of decision making around it, right? Like spending in huge amounts and no one's really talking about the money. Of course, there's like a business manager, the CEO, like we have Marcus in there too. But for the most part, we just like see money getting spent with not a lot of thought. And then I think about like Emily Gilmore in Gilmore Girls. And again, just spending in this opulence and really not having to worry about it at all. And what I think that has accidentally created in so many of us is that you get to a point of wealth or you get to a point of income where you never have to think about money, where you never have to make any financial decisions, because we've equated worrying about money with having to make financial decisions of like, what can I spend on? What can I do? I'm putting a lot of thought into how I'm using the current dollars that are in my bank account. And then on the other side of that is when I become wealthy, when I become rich, when I hit a certain income level or a certain net worth, I will no longer have to worry about money. And worrying about money equals making financial decisions about it. So if I don't have to worry about money anymore, it means I don't have to think about it at all. I won't have to make any kind of decisions. I won't really have to look at the numbers because there will be so much there for me to like not have to worry about it. And that's the fallacy, because no matter how much money that you have or what's going on in your financial picture, you're always going to have to make financial decisions. You're always going to be choosing what you want to spend money on and what you don't want to spend money on. Even at like huge levels of wealth, you're actually going to have to spend more time thinking about your money, not necessarily because you're the one managing it, but you're going to have to be making CEO level decisions about who you're outsourcing money management decisions to. You're going to be hiring your CFO. You're going to be hiring your accountant. You're going to be hiring your financial planner, your asset manager. And so there actually is more decisions that get made about money the further and the higher up you get. Now, worrying about money is optional. The financial decision making, not optional. But we've conflated those two. What I see a lot is when you go from not having a lot of money, feeling broke, living paycheck to paycheck, and you go from that to experiencing some new level of income or wealth. Whether that's you've created your own business, you hit whatever that income benchmark is that makes you feel like, oh my God, this is more money than I've ever made before. Sometimes it's getting that big paycheck for your first commercial gig or your first TV show. For me, it was hitting 6 figures. That was really big for me. I have a client who, a couple of clients actually, who like making that $1 million a year is that big benchmark. And so when you hit these benchmarks, when you've put yourself in a new reality of wealth, or when a new reality of money is put on you, whether through an inheritance or I had a client whose family came into a lot of wealth through a business venture, and now a trust fund was in play. And so when that happens, it kind of catapults you from one mindset, one headspace to this new one. And when we have created this narrative around what it means to be a rich person, and now you've entered into a reality where the numbers are telling you you're there, but you don't feel like it, then there's this dissonance where you're trying to spend money or use money in a way that's in alignment with what you believe rich is, to try and bridge that dissonance gap, right? Or try and create harmony in your body of, here's where I'm at and here's what the bank accounts are and I'm feeling it and I believe what my bank accounts are telling me. What can happen is that if you, going back to like the Deborah Vance, the Emily Gilmore examples in like TV shows and media, if you're really drawn to the idea of, oh my God, when I become rich, like I'm just going to get to spend however I want and I'm not going to have to think about money. When you're drawn to that idea, you're going to start spending like that when you hit whatever that benchmark is. And that's going to leave your bank accounts not with a lot of surplus, right? It's not going to leave you super happy with what your bank accounts look like at the end of the month or each quarter or whenever you're currently checking on them. But the other version of this that I want to speak to is there are a lot of creatives who come into that place not desiring that kind of energy around money. There can sometimes be an aversion of like, no, I don't want to be the person who just spends on everything, kind of being terrified of lifestyle inflation. Or, of course, we all have big hearts. And so when we think about capitalism and the world, there sometimes is this aversion to having more because we've conflated rich and more and wealth with badness. And so we have this aversion to indulging or spending on anything that we have decided is what those rich people do. Whether it's a kind of lifestyle, a kind of housing, vacations, physical items, types of clothes that you might want, but you have an aversion to spending on them because you don't want to be that kind of person. So what I've seen happen with a lot of my clients who fall into this category is just letting money pool, kind of letting money hoard. And what happens is they haven't increased their lifestyle at all, but their bank accounts are showing so much more in those numbers, but they don't feel any better. They still feel broke. They still feel like they're living that old lifestyle, even though the whole point of making more money was to feel more ease and to feel more joy and be able to support more people. So here's how rich people actually spend money. Rich people choose to spend money on what they want. So I want you to hear 2 very operative words there: choose and spend. Rich people spend. They do. They know what they want and they spend money on it. But they're also choosing. They are choosing how they want to spend their money. So this episode, what we're talking about today, is speaking to both kinds of people. Those of you who feel like you are in the place of, I just want to spend all my new money. I want all the things I want. I don't want to have to think about money or worry about money. That's my goal for being rich and wealthy, is not having to think about it. And the person who's like, I don't want to be the person who has lifestyle inflation. I want to make sure I'm using my money responsibly. Still feeling like starving artist energy, still feeling like broke energy, and not wanting to utilize the new money that's coming in. Both kinds of these people who are listening to this episode right now need to learn to spend like a rich person, because rich people choose to spend money on what they want. They're definitely going to get what they want, and they're going to decide what they want to say yes to. Because rich people still have to make money decisions. So I'm going to need you to make peace with that right now. Making more money doesn't absolve you from thinking about money. and managing your money. And that doesn't mean it has to be complicated, right? This is what the money flow method is. This is why I created the cash flow system for you that I did, so that it can be simple, so that it can be less than 1 hour a month, so that you don't have to use a spreadsheet, so that it's all just right there in one glance at your fingertips inside of your bank accounts. It's why that was created, but you still have to go in and look. You still have to do the 1 hour a month, right? You still have to decide, do you want to spend money on this or do you want to spend money on this? Would you rather invest in this thing or would you rather keep the money in your savings account? Like, there are always going to be those kinds of decisions. And it is okay that that makes you mad. It is okay that that makes you upset, right? It's okay to have feelings about the reality of us living in a society where we work and do things to make money, and that money supports our lifestyle, and that we don't just have universal basic income, that our ability to live is tied to our ability to create income. Now, if we lived in a more socialist society, we would have less of this, but that's not currently where we're at, specifically in the American system that we are under right now. It's okay to have the moment of feeling the feelings that that brings up in you. It's okay to have the moment of grief of, oh my God, I thought when I was making this much or when I had this much that I wouldn't have to think about this anymore. And oh, that's not true? Fuck. That's okay to have that moment, right? Let yourself have that moment. And then moving forward, it's like, okay, how do I want to shift this now? What does being rich actually mean to me? We're going to talk about that specific idea in a later episode about the mindset shifts that high earning creatives, self-employed creatives make. That's going to be one of them, right? Your wealthy identity, your rich identity, your high earning identity. What does that actually mean for you? Who is that person? Because she makes spending decisions. But the fun part then, and what you then get to move into, is how much more fun the decisions you have to make about money right now are than the decisions you had to make about money back then were, right? Like, now you're not deciding like, okay, how much takeout can I get this week? Did I overspend because I have to make sure the rent is paid and like, whoo, yeah, we're in tight margins this month. You're not having to make those decisions anymore. The decisions you get to make now is, do I want to upgrade the vacation package to the higher tier one, or do I want to put a hot tub in to my house? Like, that's a much more fun money decision. Do I want to hire a few more people for my team, right? Do I want to hire an assistant? I had a client who, while we were working together, was making the decision to hire an assistant because she wanted to decrease the amount she was like hustling and doing admin work in her life. And it was going to be a thing that she would work to offload, like emailing, searching for certain auditions, those sorts of things. Do you want to hire an assistant for your team, or do you want to make another like lump sum investment to then be able to buy a new piece of property down the road, which is some of the things that she was deciding between at that time. Those are really fun money decisions. They still require thought and intention, but you're getting to just make more fun choices, more expansive choices. The people who say that like money doesn't solve your problems, that's not true. Like, money does solve those problems that I was talking about earlier, right? Being able to pay your rent with ease, not being worried about how much you're eating takeout or whatever. But that doesn't absolve you of making any decisions or having any future problems at all. So spending money, I'm going to come back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, which is there's this abundance girly energy that I think is pervasive in self-employed spaces, in business owner spaces, in high earning creative spaces, which is, if you want to tap into abundance, if you want to be your most abundant self and manifest money and have ease with money, it's this idea of you have to spend like you're rich, but that usually gets translated into, don't be worried about how much you're spending. Spend like you have it. And that misinterpretation then can cause people to go into debt that doesn't feel good for them, or to spend money out of fear that they wouldn't be abundant if they didn't spend the money, which is just as full of scarcity as not spending money out of scarcity. Like if you're spending money because you're afraid of not being abundant, that's scarcity. But this abundance girly energy is like, well, if you don't feel like you could rise to the occasion of how much you are going to invest in this thing, or if you aren't letting yourself like indulge in luxurious things, if you're telling yourself no, that's inherently scarcity, that's inherently spending money not like a rich person. And I want to counter that. I want to come up against that thought space because listen, being an abundant mindset is incredible. I want all of you manifesting more money and having an abundant mindset. But when you are making financial decisions, spending and not spending, both can be hella abundant and can result in a lot of manifested money. It just depends on the energy you're doing it in. Like I said before, if you're spending money out of obligation to be abundant, that is inherently white knuckling. That is like a graspy energy. And same going for if you're choosing not to spend money because you're afraid of spending money, because you're afraid of it not coming back to you, because you don't believe that you're going to be able to make the money back or that more money will come to you if you spend this amount. That's also graspy. That's also white knuckly. And on the flip side, you can choose to spend money in full abundance of, I am in full belief that this money will come back to me, that I'll be able to make the sales, that I will be able to book the gig, that I will figure it out. Like there is a really fun energy of that confident expectation that it's going to come in. What I would venture to say is, and what I coach my clients into is have that energy about bringing the money in and then spend the money after it's in your bank account. I see a lot of people spending money before it's in the bank account, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but I see people doing that to force them into a corner of, well, now I have to make it work. Well, now I have to earn more. Now I have to book the gig. Now I have to figure it out. And if you're only able to earn more money and expand yourself financially when you're backed up against the wall, I'd say that that's not a sustainable business practice. I'd say that that's not a sustainable creative practice. So a much more fun energy is spending like a rich person is like, rich people don't feel like they have to spend money before it's in their bank account. Like, you have full belief that the money is coming into the bank, that you're going to make it, and then you know you're going to get to spend it when it's in the bank account, when it's in the savings bucket, when it's in the checking account. So spending money gets to feel really abundant, as does not spending money. Keeping it in savings or just choosing not to make a certain spending decision, keeping money in the bank account, that gets to feel abundant because in that moment, you're making a choice for your financial expansion of, I don't want to push myself into back against the wall energy because I know I can take a deeper breath and I can feel more time and space if I don't push myself into less wiggle room financially. Also, choosing to put money towards future you via saving and investing, which is choosing not to spend money. You're choosing to spend it on future you. That's what saving and investing is. When you choose to do that, that's a really abundant choice because you're choosing the expansion of future you in those respects. So like I said, there is no inherent abundant financial action. It's all about the reason why you're doing it and the feeling you're having while you're doing it, which, y'all, let me tell you, it's the most annoying part of managing money because there isn't just this perfect checklist of here's all the things you should do to be abundant and have more money in the bank account. Like, there is so much more to money than just that because money is inherently tied to our emotions, to our thoughts, to energetics, to things larger than us. And so if I could give you the exact checklist of if you spend money on these specific things, that means you're in abundant energy and that means you're in alignment with your highest earning potential. Great, here you go. And here's the exact accounts that you should invest in. And here's the percentage that you should save. And this is what rich people do. Follow this checklist and everything will be okay. That's what we all inherently want. I get that. I used to want that, right? That was something that I was looking for when I was doing my initial venture into financial wellness and becoming a wealthy creative, becoming a high earning creative, that's what I was looking for. I was like, who wrote the book for us? Who wrote the book for freelancers and creatives of how we're going to manage our money when we're all wealthy and rich? And there was no checklist, right? There wasn't any percentage that could be given that would support every single person and all of their goals and all of our nuanced things as human beings. So I want to anchor you here. And how do you actually start to do this? The first thing I want to give you is the 3 reasons to spend money. The only 3 reasons that any money should get spent or does get spent ever. The first reason is to improve your life. The second reason is to get joy, derive joy. And the third is to support others. So as you're making spending decisions moving forward, I want you to, in the moment that you're planning on parting with your dollars, utilizing your dollars to receive something, put it into one of these 3 categories. Are you spending to improve your life, your lifestyle, or improve something in your business that will improve then your income, that will improve your lifestyle? Are you trying to get joy? Are you getting a hit of dopamine? Is this for just enjoyment purposes? And then 3, is it going towards supporting others? Whether that's giving, whether that is not even like supporting someone directly by giving someone money, but I'm going to spend this money because I want to support this person in this way, buying a flight home to see my family, or going to see this friend's show, or giving money to someone. Sure, I'm making a donation, anything like that. That is supporting others. And once you start to categorize your spending decisions in these 3 categories, you're going to be able to get some clarity around, like, is this actually doing the thing that I want it to do? This is where you're flexing that decision-making muscle with whatever financial decisions are in front of you at this point. And not in the place of like, you have to go into your spreadsheet and nickel and dime and decide like exactly what this is getting me. But it's the muscle of every time you use your money, you're just asking yourself the question like, yeah, what is this for? Do I like this? Do I want this? How do I feel about this? Sometimes we just forget to ask ourselves that question. Or we ask ourselves a different question. We ask ourselves, do I need this? Or we ask ourselves, can I afford this? Or we ask ourselves, do I deserve this? And all of those are inherent like scarcity questions. So do I need this? It has the energy of like, you're only allowed to buy something if you need it, which makes no sense because you can always make the case for why you don't need something. Can I afford this? The real question you should be asking yourself is, if you want something, how do I afford it? And if your bank accounts are telling you you can't afford it right now, that's fine. You just get to decide you're going to afford it in the future. And then what's the financial plan to get you there? This is what I do with some of my one-on-one clients. If they are not at a current financial level that allows them the things that they want, one, how can we start infusing some of what they want right now at their current level, while then we are making the financial plan, whether it's income-wise or lifestyle-wise, to be able to get them to living in the apartment that they want to live in, to having the spare money every single month to be able to increase their investment so that they can retire at the earlier age that they want to retire at. And then, do I deserve this? I think is the least helpful, because we can justify anything. You can come up with a list of 10 reasons right now why you could deserve anything. That's not a helpful question. We can girl math our way into anything we want. Our brains are really good at that. So that's not a helpful question. The more helpful question is, what is the desire or the need that I'm trying to fill right now? And with this thing I'm spending money on, will it actually do the job? Will it do the trick? And so when you are looking to hire an assistant, that would probably fall into the category of improving your life, because it's going to give you some more free time back in your day. You're going to be able to offload some of the tasks you don't want. You can be more in your creative energy. So that's an improving your life thing. And then you can ask yourself like, okay, that would be improving my life. When I make this spending decision, adding another monthly business expense, will that actually improve my life? Here are the reasons why. And you can do all of this within 30 seconds inside of your head. Sure, you can have a longer journaling session on it, but do you see how that's a different question than, can I afford it? I mean, that's part of the question. Do you have the money in your business revenue to afford it? But it's a better question of, this will improve my life and why? Yes, great, stamp of approval. I can move forward without second guessing or being afraid of it. You might be deciding to, I had a client who was deciding whether or not she wanted to upgrade to business class tickets on a flight overseas. And for her, that, for some people, might be in the get joy category. But for her, it was, no, this is going to improve my life category because I'm spending a lot of money to go on this overseas trip. I want to get the most out of this trip while I'm over there. Me being able to have a lay flat seat so that I can actually sleep and wake up well rested is going to have me making the most out of the trip while I'm there. And also there was some like business meetings and connections that were happening. So she's like, this is actually going to help open some doors. I want to be well rested. Then that money that she would be spending for that, putting in the improving her life category, great. So she knows that. And now she can say, like, does this feel like an equal transfer of what it's going to improve in my life versus what I'm spending? And for her, it was a big thumbs up. But then there was also another trip she was having the same question for herself, and it was then, nope, that transaction doesn't feel equal. I'm actually going to be fine in premium economy because the dollar amount that's spending doesn't feel like it's equating with the value that I would want from it. I also think sometimes you forget that indulging and getting joy is a powerful business decision, is a powerful financial decision, a responsible money decision. Because when you use your money to receive joy, that trains your body that money is good. That shows your body that when you focus on your money and when you make intentional decisions around your money, that you get to feel good, which then starts to dissipate any avoidance that you feel around your money. Because you're training yourself of like, when I focus on my money, I get to indulge and this feels really good. And so I want to do more of it. And so I don't want to avoid it. And money actually does get to feel really sexy and expansive. That's amazing. And then also there's an identity shift that comes from when you use your money to derive joy, especially if you've come from the place where like starving artist was your true identity and narrative. And even now that you've been making more money, your brain still tells you that you should be afraid, that you're not allowed to spend money that is frivolous, that is indulgent, or whatever you've decided frivolous and indulgent means. I had a client who, she was in that place, and I'm going to give you two examples here. Two clients who were in that starving artist headspace, and that's one of the things that they really wanted to work on when we began money mentorship together, which was like, I see the numbers in my bank account. I shouldn't be feeling anxious. I shouldn't be feeling so terrified about when the next paycheck is coming in, but it's just so hardwired. So one of the practical, responsible financial decisions that we worked on together was indulging. Like, what are the things that you tell yourself you're not allowed to have, or that feel super frivolous, or that feel like you shouldn't do this? Like, this is bad, or like inherently not good, or there's a more responsible thing to do with my money. So one of the clients, she decided to take herself on like a tropical vacation. She didn't really know if she was a tropical vacation girl, but she did. And she went for like a week, and she's like, I've never done this before. Like, this feels crazy. Like, she got the good package. And when she came back, she was like, that was fun. Glad I know that I could do that. Probably won't do that again. Like, there's other kinds of vacations or trips or ways I want to spend my money that would feel really good. But her allowing herself to like explore an inkling of like, people love tropical vacations, and I've never allowed myself to like go on that kind of dream vacation. Like, let me go do that. It did something for her identity of, I'm allowed to do this as a high earning artist, as a high earning creative. I had another client who hit a big business milestone in her creative service business. And she had wanted an Yves Saint Laurent purse for so long. And at this business milestone, because we had worked on a process to consistently pay herself every single month, she now had like consistency in not only her payouts, but her financial management system. She was able to very clearly see how much money she had to spend in her personal life and her business life. So she could see she literally had the money to easily pay for this purse that she had wanted from her bank accounts. And it was kind of that energy of like, oh my God, like I can actually get this for myself. And she did. And it was this big moment for her that solidified this identity of, oh, I am rich. I have money. And I think that's also sometimes a hard thought for some of us to have, because it feels so foreign from where we have been. And also because rich, that word itself, this again is going to come in a later podcast episode with mindset shifts. Rich can sometimes carry a lot of weight, moral weight, and like I don't want to be one of those rich people, but we can redefine it. And when we can say, like, I am rich, I have money in the bank, I have wealth, and then you get to make spending decisions out of that energy, you expand more financially. You then kind of crack open doors to more ease, less anxiety, more money coming in when you claim that. And part of indulging and getting joy out of your money helps to do that. Now, I also want to talk about supporting others with your money, because supporting others, I've talked about this in a previous episode as well, but there is people who will have perceptions of your financial situation that are not accurate because they don't know your bank accounts. They don't know your numbers. They might have a perception of you of like, once you hit a certain amount, like if you own $1 million business, there's no amount of money that you could say no to. And so some people expect, whether it's family members or friends or whatever, that you're going to be the one picking up the check. Or of course you'd have the money to give to them, to support them, because you've given them money in the past. You must always have the money at your disposal. But they don't know the ins and outs of your bank accounts. They don't know that you have to make financial decisions, that you don't just have an endless supply of money, that when you're rich, you do have to make decisions. And so when it comes to supporting others, I want to just give you an example here. I had a client who, she's a high earner. She was in the 9-to-5 corporate space, but she did have fluctuating income. Like she had, part of her salary was commission. And so it would fluctuate quarter to quarter alongside her base salary. And so one of her kids, there was money that was going to one of her kids. And so what she had to do was make a decision about how much money she wanted to put into this fund for her child. Because as a parent, of course you want to support your kid and give them everything. And there also has to be decisions made around how much that is. So what she was able to do was have an amount that she felt really good and expansive putting into this savings bucket for her kid. That felt good to her in her bank accounts, but that also was able to support her child, but didn't make her feel scarcity, because she was like, I am now getting to consistently contribute money into this bucket for them, and I feel really good about the amount because it doesn't affect me being able to do the other things that I want to do. So when it comes to supporting others, am I going to go on this tangent right now? Yeah, I want to go on this tangent for a second, because I had an experience. I was on just like walking down the street the other day, and there was a Planned Parenthood canvasser that stopped me. I stop and talk to canvassers all the time now. I used to not do that before I was a canvasser myself. I canvass for the Mom Donnie campaign, our New York City mayor. I'm also currently canvassing for Daria Lisa, who, if you're in Uptown, if you're in the Bronx, if you are in Harlem, if you are in Morningside Heights, she is our representative, hopefully, who will be elected to Congress come November. But we have the Democratic primary happening in June. So if you're in New York and you're in New York 13, our congressional district, keep your eyes out and vote for Daria Lisa in our Democratic primary in June, and then make sure you show up for the midterm elections in November. But I've been canvassing for her as well, and being a canvasser, canvassing on the street people can be so mean. It's so rude. But now I stop and I talk to canvassers, and of course, a Planned Parenthood canvasser, I'm like, yes, tell me about what you guys are doing out here. They're in a fundraising campaign at the moment. And so we were talking, and they were obviously asking for donations. And I was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, all my donations are currently spoken for. Like, I currently donate to DSA, and I have a couple of other things that my money goes towards. I'm not going to donate right now, but I fully support your mission. Thank you for letting me know what you guys are doing out here. If you didn't know, more of your money goes to Planned Parenthood if you donate through a canvasser on the street than if you donate online, because some of the online donations have to go to like ads and things. That was something new I learned. Perk of talking to a canvasser. But I was like, thank you so much for talking to me, But they kept pushing, and something that I was, of course, my money coach brain turned on. And in my head, I was like, oh, I know how easy it is to feel guilty for saying no to donating. But the only way that you can appease that guilt is when you have made decisions around how you are using all of your money. So that doesn't mean you have to donate in order to feel good about saying no to other types of donations. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have very clear reasons for how you're using all of your money, saying, no, I'm choosing to use my money other ways, is going to absolve you of some of that guilt and that shame. I see this a lot too, of feeling bad when you get the thing on when you're checking out at Walmart or any of these fast food restaurants where you want to round up for St. Jude's or round up for the kids, and you feel bad being no, I don't support the kids, but you're I do support the kids, but I don't want to give you my money that then you get to use to reduce your taxable income and get a tax break. I'm just going to go and donate on my own. So this is my little rant about donating and supporting others. You have to decide what your parameters are and what makes you feel good in your heart about what you're contributing to society. We all feel the desire to contribute to society, at least most of us good-hearted human beings do. And so when you get clear on what that means for you financially and you put parameters around it, it's really easy or easier to not feel guilt when you're hey, I really support Planned Parenthood. I'm not going to donate to this fundraiser right now. That doesn't mean I won't in the future, but right now I've already made other decisions. Learning how to spend as a rich person, as a high earning creative who is self-employed, is so important. And this is why in one-on-one coaching, the first thing that I do with my clients is we create this cash flow system called the money flow method. We create organization inside of your bank accounts and get clear on your numbers, because the first step to spending like a rich person is knowing what you can safely spend with plenty of buffer room. And the only way to know that is to have a simple way to understand your entire financial picture in one glance, because you're busy. You don't have more time than that to be cross-checking a spreadsheet or a budgeting app. And when you then do make a big investment to spend more, or you decide to indulge in something that's more than that like safety amount that we've created for you, you're making that choice intentionally. And you know exactly what it's going to do to your numbers, so you're not shocked when you check your bank accounts the next month, okay? And you're very clear on what that investment or that spending is categorized into, one of the 3 reasons to spend. So you know it's going to improve your life, you know it's going to give you joy, or you know it's going to supporting others in a way that feels really good to you, that's not out of guilt or shame or people pleasing, and you can put a big fat stamp of approval on it. So then with the money flow method, what we can see is also if there's any money pooling anywhere. So for those of you who tend to like hold on to money and not want to spend it and feel very like, I don't know if I should, or if this is okay, am I allowed to? Is this responsible? We can see clearly if there is money that is in surplus. So then it's, do you want to spend it? Do you want to invest it? Do you want to save it? Do you want to pay off a big chunk of debt with it? You then have the clear amount that is the surplus that you can safely use for other things, knowing that it's not going to put your bank account into the red, knowing that you're still 3 months ahead on bills in all of your bank accounts, your business bank accounts and your personal bank accounts. So it's never going to put you in the red. And then our work becomes taking action on the financial plans that we're creating for you to get what you actually want. So that comes alongside knowing what you actually want. And a lot of what happens is we start our coaching package together, and we start off with creating 3 specific money goals for you. And those can be a bunch of different things. It could be paying off a certain amount of debt. It could be not having panic attacks when you look at your bank accounts, being able to understand your money very clearly so you can know what you can afford each month. There might be specific spending things you want to do. Like there was a client who wanted to take her sister out to dinner every month. And that was a small spending goal, but that felt like a big thing for her. It could be moving. It could be getting a new car. It could be maxing out a retirement account. It could be hiring new team members. It could be anything. And when we decide on your 3 goals, then my job as your money coach, I'm going to give you the plans of like, okay, here's actually what needs to get done in order to hit those goals, right? Here's our roadmap. And then we start going down that roadmap together. You start taking action. We start doing the plan. And then as that is happening, you're going to hit roadblocks and you're going to hit resistance. And what those roadblocks and resistance usually are is dissonance between what you think you want and what you actually want. right? And so when those things come up, this is where these weekly coaching calls come into play. I'm thinking specifically of, there were 2 clients who, when they started their package with me, they wanted to buy houses. And they wanted to buy houses in the city that they were currently living in. And so as we were making the plan to buy the house, to spend their high earning, creative, self-employed, rich girl money on these new houses, going down that path, right, of making that spending decision, what they then realized is when they were having resistance to putting money into the savings bucket, or like doing the research they wanted to do, or they were feeling a lot of fear about like certain expenses that were coming up with the buying the house, what then came up is, oh, there's actually a different want here. The want actually for both of these clients was they didn't want to live where they were currently living. One of them wanted to live in a different country, and one of them wanted to live in a different state. And so then it's like, okay, when we start going down that path, then when we start making the plan for you to move out of the country and quit your job and create a new lifestyle out there, all of a sudden there's less resistance. All of a sudden you're able to take action a lot quicker. Oh, it's because that's what you actually wanted. Oh, when you are looking for an apartment instead of buying a house, but it's in this new city you're really excited about, the fear of the spending money is a lot less. Like there's more momentum there when it's something you actually want. And so that's an interesting thing that can happen during coaching. That doesn't happen every time, but I just wanted to flag that because one of the core tenets of this episode is choosing to spend money on what you want. And that want is a very big part of that equation, because you might think you want a certain thing, but then as you start to take the action steps towards it, you realize you actually want something different. There's also a lot of us as creatives and artists, and those of us who from the get-go, we're not told to dream big about like what we could have, especially financially, and the kind of lifestyle we were going to have. When you come from that place, sometimes you haven't even acknowledged the things that you want. It's not that you want something and then it turns into something different. You're like, I don't even have any bigger want than just I can pay my bills easily every month. That's a pretty standard goal. Like there's got to be bigger stuff on top of that you want. So that can sometimes take some surfacing. And that surfacing can only happen when you bring yourself safety financially, when you appease that safety level. So when I was talking about some of these clients who removing the starving artist trope and starting to feel safe around the money they have in their bank account, that was the first step. Because once we did that, then it's like, oh my God, wait, maybe I want to go on a vacation. Oh my God, maybe I actually want nice jewelry. Maybe I want this purse. Maybe I do want to live in a different kind of apartment. Maybe I actually want to sell all my stuff and go be nomadic. Who knows what I want? Like then all of that other stuff can surface. But that's why that has to be the first goal. And we do that alongside the practical bank account things, the practical understanding your number things, the practical, am I in a bank that gives me a high interest rate in my savings? And do I know what I'm invested in? And am I paying the lowest amount of fees possible on that? Like we talk about all that stuff because that's what's going to give you that practical safety that then when your brain starts to freak out, you can point yourself to the stuff you see in the bank and say, no, we're good. No, see, we actually do know what we're doing. And then you've like cleared the way, you've cleared the smoke of the anxiety, you've cleared the smoke of the, I don't know what I'm doing. So that way you can finally ask yourself, like, what do you want, baby girl? What would be fun? What would be exciting? And that's a really fun question to get to start to play with. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to become the financially confident CEO of your life and career, you can learn more about private coaching with me by heading to notstarvingartist.com and clicking on the one-on-one money mentorship page, or hit the link in the show notes. You can also grab my self-study online course, Cashed Up Creatives, which is the full financial curriculum that you were never given in college. You get the first module totally free, so click the link below and you can start learning today. For all workshop and speaking engagement inquiries, send a message to support@notstarvingartist.com. And as always, if you loved this episode, please like, comment, review, send it to a friend, and I will see you next week.